We're now looking at data validation. We're back in the test database in the employees table. There's two basic reasons you want to include data validation in your database design. One being you want to quantify the data, and secondly, you want to provide ease of use for the inputting of the data values themselves. So let's open the employees table. Go to your design view. The different elements you can add from a data validation perspective would include a required field, a default value, a validation rule, validation text, input mask, and lastly an input field. So looking at our fields here from a required field perspective, you remember that the primary key, in this case the employee ID, is always required. So let's put a required on a first name and last name. So select this specific field, come down into your field properties, and under where it says required, you have a drop down. You want to include yes. Same for last name. Set it to yes. From a default perspective, say for instance the state, we're basically, our company is in Pennsylvania, so to provide ease of input for the user. Let's click on the field, and you'll notice we can put in PA. It'll close it in quotes since it's a text field. So from a validation rule perspective, let's look at salary. You can provide a rule, which in this case, let's an arbitrary figure of greater than 1,000. And you can also, which is not mandatory, provide a explanatory text. So now you provide the rule and the corresponding text, which the user will see, provided they don't put a value in the salary that's greater than 1,000. So from an input mask, we talked before about, say for instance, Social Security, the standard format, zip code, the standard 5-4 format. So let's put one on the zip code. So we'll again highlight the field, come down to input mask, hit your drop down, and it'll prompt you to save the table. And finally, our selection, let's look at zip code, the standard 5-4 format. And let's just take the default at this time. So now we have, again, our standard 5-4 format. And lastly, we want to provide the user with a lookup field, which is a pre-selected set of values to choose from. It makes it easier for them from an input perspective. But we're going to go ahead and add a new field here, marital status. And in the data type, let's hit the drop down, and the last selection is the lookup wizard. You want to select, you're going to type in the values that they'll to be provided with. Click next. And let's go ahead and put in married, single, and lastly divorced. And let's click on limit to this specific list, and let's hit finish. So we've now added required, default value, validation rule, validation text, input mask, and a lookup field. So now let's go over to our datasheet view. Again, save the table, a good thing. And let's add a new record and test these validation rules. Well, let's leave out the last name. It's prompting us for the last name now. Okay, good. It works. You'll notice it's defaulted to the state in this case. And now it's prompting us for our 5-4. zip code, give it a department number, and let's leave, okay, salary must be greater than 1,000. So let's give it a value of 1,001, and let's do a save. So now we've created the specific validation rules